Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Steve. This is the Fandom Show. It is June 8th, 2026. Man, it's just been that kind of day. I can't even remember exactly what day it is. But hey, it's June 8th, and we are here at the Fandom Show. Got a few things to cover tonight, so let's go ahead and jump into it. First thing, Mandalorian and Grogu, new Star Wars movie, which was in theaters last month. I saw it with a friend of mine. I quite liked it. Now, I'm a fan of The Mandalorian. I thought the series were great, and I thought the movie was really good. Now, it's been... I was going to say controversial, it may be polarizing is a better word. I mean, anything can be polarizing among Star Wars fans, right? You're talking about a massive fandom, and there's people within that fandom that are going to nitpick any little thing they can find. With regards to The Mandalorian, a bit of a financial underperformer. It's about $300 million worldwide right now, which might seem like a lot, but when you factor in that it cost $150 million to make, and then millions and millions more to market and all of that, it's not at the point of turning much of a profit. Now, it's going to make some money at Star Wars. It's what Star Wars does. But the financial performance has been a little bit underwhelming. I can see that. Now, obviously, this is a movie that was geared toward people who'd seen the Mandalorian TV show. Now, there's obviously folks within the Star Wars fandom that didn't really care for the Mandalorian and probably weren't going to want to see this movie. And I think there were other people who were hoping that this movie would kind of reignite Star Wars at the box office. It has been 7 years since Rise of Skywalker came out. And, you know, you'd think with that much time, with nothing there, that people would be really eager to get back into the cinemas and see Star Wars. But, again, when you're talking about The Mandalorian, it's kind of a more niche thing within the Star Wars fandom. And, you know, there's people online complaining that, oh, you know, it was just a silly adventure movie. It wasn't a good Star Wars movie. Okay, look. The whole idea behind The Mandalorian is that it's a space western, it's an adventure series. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be entertaining. It's not meant to be deep. It's not meant to be political. It's not meant to be any of that. If you want deep and political and edgy, watch Andor. Okay, The Mandalorian is about fun. It's about blaster battles. It's about the Mandalorian doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's about, you know, just fun stuff. Things going boom, things going fast, etc., etc. All the stuff that makes Star Wars good as a popcorn flick. So if you have that expectation going in, which I did, you're going to enjoy the movie. But if you're looking for something on a much deeper level, you're going to be disappointed. Now, obviously, this is not going to kill Star Wars at the theater. It's a huge property. Nothing's going to kill Star Wars at the theater. There'll be more movies out before long. There's already a few in pre-production. So this is just a little bump in the road. And of course, we're talking about Disney here that has tons of money. So they're not going to be too concerned, I wouldn't think, with The Mandalorian landing a little bit soft. But honestly, if you like The Mandalorian, you're going to like the movie. I enjoyed it for what it was. And I would highly recommend it to anybody who, again, enjoyed the TV series because it does do all of those characters justice. And it's a fun way to waste a couple of hours. So, again, highly recommend it if that's kind of your thing. Moving on from The Mandalorian, we had another big property back in theaters this past week. 2 weeks ago? Recently. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Last in theaters in 1987, and that movie was a whole... I think I might have done a video on that a while back, or at least talked about it. One of my favorite movies when I was a kid. But now we're 2026 now, it's almost 40 years later, and He-Man is back in theaters. Unfortunately, it's only made $55 million so far. It didn't even top the box office last week, which was, I think, its opening weekend. Has been considered a bit of a flop. Now, this one I can understand simply because outside of this He-Man movie, there hasn't been a whole ton of stuff going on in the Masters of the Universe. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been some comics and there's been some toy lines and what have you, but I think He-Man is more of a niche thing. You had to be, I think, for people like myself who grew up in the 80s and watched the Masters of the Universe cartoon and had all the OG He-Man toys. I actually have a He-Man and Skeletor on my shelf here. Here's He-Man. I'm not going to take out Skeletor because that's a little bit scary, but I'll leave He-Man right there. This is not an original toy. It's a reissue of the original toy, but the proportions and all that are roughly the same. Back when I was about 10 years old, I had like a bin full of toys like this. My friends and I would play Masters of the Universe, and it was a whole lot of fun. That property was really big back in the mid to late 80s. But now, since there hasn't been a whole lot of the fandom for so long, I can see why this one hit a little bit soft. Also, there were some people that weren't too happy with the storyline, which again sees Prince Adam come back to Earth. Not quite the same way they did it in the first film, but I can kind of see why this one didn't work out quite as well as they maybe hoped. Now again, it's early, only came out last week, so it might gain some traction and make a little bit of money. We don't know. But so far, it's been a little bit underwhelming, which is okay. You know, when you bring a property back after decades, you never quite know what the response is going to be. You hope it'll be good, but sometimes reality has other plans. So moving along here, Ghostbusters Day was just a few days ago. That's, of course, an annual day that's celebrated among the Ghostbusters fandom. It marks the anniversary of the release of Ghostbusters in movie theaters, and they run a big festival events at the Firehouse. I was supposed to be there this year, but yours truly booked the wrong week off of work. So I will be at the Firehouse, in fact, next week, because I'm going to New York. But I missed out on Ghostbusters Day, so I'll get over it. But on Ghostbusters Day, they announced and revealed the logo for a new animated series on Netflix, which is Ghostbusters Night Shift. So you can guess by the title, this is obviously not going to feature the heroes that we know and love, at least not in, primary roles. They'll probably be there in supporting roles, but I think we're talking about a new group of Ghostbusters, and Night Shift is probably, they're going around New York and other areas at night and dealing with goodness knows what. I hope it's going to be good. The Ghostbusters has a pretty good track record with animated series for the most part, and there's definitely been a hunger for this for some time, and Netflix has a relatively good track record with handling properties like this, so cautiously optimistic that it's going to be good. Obviously, Jason Reitman is involved, as are other members of the Ghost Corps, which is sort of the blanket term for the team at Sony that handles the Ghostbusters property. So again, cautiously optimistic this is going to be good. Obviously, as a Ghostbusters fan, I have very high expectations, but we'll see how it goes, and again, hopefully it turns out well. Next up, Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg's new Alien movie comes out this Friday. Not a sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, sort of a spiritual successor, but maybe like an inspired by, if you will. I don't know exactly what it's about, and that's on purpose. I've stayed away from about as much of these movies as I possibly can, except for watching a few of the trailers, because I want to go and see it in theaters, and I want to be as fresh as possible, because I find that's a good rule of thumb for a Spielberg movie, and also for alien movies in general. So, Steven Spielberg directing, David kept writing. He's the guy who wrote the first Jurassic Park movie, actually the first two Jurassic Park movies, and a bunch of other major movies. So, good creative team behind this, and I'm hoping that it turns out to be really good and not a disappointment. I mean, we're talking about Spielberg here, right? He's got one of the best track records in Hollywood. So typically, if you watch a Spielberg movie, it's not going to be a bad experience. Might not be as good as you hope, but it's probably going to be a good time at the movies no matter what. So fingers crossed, Disclosure Day is going to be good. I'm going to put out a video on that when it drops. And that, I think, is going to be interesting once I can dive into more about what that movie is about, what I liked, didn't like, and what have you. Moving along, John Lithgow. For years, I called this guy John Lithgow because that's how his name is spelled. No, it's actually John Lithgow. Has appeared in numerous movie roles, television roles over the years. He's 80 years old now. He set a record 2 nights ago for being the oldest male actor to ever win a Tony Award. If you don't know, Tonys are for performing arts like Broadway, theater, that kind of thing. So yeah, he set a record. Oldest actor ever won a Tony Award at 80. Congratulations, John Lithgow. That is awesome. Don't let anybody ever tell you you're too old to do something. I mean, we see this kind of stuff happen. No, it's not super common, but it can be done, right? So again, if you really think you want to pursue something and there's nothing stopping you, I don't really think that, for the most part, age should really be a factor. I mean, obviously, if it's something that a heavy physical thing would have with your age is going to impede you on, that's one thing. But if it's a creative endeavor, and despite your age, you're healthy enough to go for it, then give it a shot. You never know what might happen. I mean, here's John Lithgow just winning a huge award at the age of 80, when most people are just kind of, golfing and sitting back in their homes, retired, and not doing much with their day. So, if you want to get it, it's out there for you. But congratulations to John, because that is absolutely awesome. And the last item tonight is, it was just a preview came out for the live-action Scooby-Doo series on Netflix. I gotta tell you, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with all this live-action stuff that are going on. I personally feel like some properties do better as cartoons, and I really feel like Scooby-Doo is in that category. Now, I know there were a couple Scooby-Doo movies from about 20 years ago that were relatively well received, and that's great. And I didn't say those movies are bad. I'm just saying that I think Scooby-Doo works better as a cartoon series. I don't have the image handy to show you, but if you go online, you can find the image of what the new, I say live action, obviously CGI Scooby-Doo looks like. And when I say Scooby-Doo in this instance, I'm meaning specifically the dog. I looked at it actually just before I sat down to record this video, and honestly, I was a little put off by it. Now, of course, I'm just looking at a single frame from the project, and that's not really a lot to judge on, but that combined with my general apprehension on this mad rush to make everything live action, it kind of gives me pause for a little bit. I'm hoping that maybe it's better than I think it's going to be, but I definitely have some concerns about this one. But again, we'll see where it goes. Obviously, we're heading into summertime. It's getting warmer outside, and we're heading into summer blockbuster season. So a bunch of new movies are going to be coming out, a bunch of new announcements on things that are going to be coming out in the fall and Christmas season are going to be happening. So I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about on the Fandom Show. I actually have a couple items that will be here, not next week, but the week after, that I want to talk about, and we'll get there when the time comes. But I hope you did enjoy the video tonight. It's been nice hanging out with you guys again. As always, if you have questions, comments, drop them in the comment slot there on YouTube. We also have our Facebook page where I'm regularly posting new content, but that will wrap us up for this particular episode. So again, hope you enjoyed yourself, and as always, thanks so much for watching.